welcome out to the Death Battle cast. We are the cast and crew of Death Battle, joined by a couple people who aren't usually on the show, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm Ben. I play Wiz.
I'm Sean. I'm a writer on the episode Frank vs. Leon.
I'm Luis. I worked on the new episode that came out, Frank West versus Leon Kennedy.
As the animator.
Yes.
Is what he's going for there. And I'm Chad. I play Boomstick. It's always the intros with you. You're fine after the intro.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just roll with
No
it.
pressure.
Just roll with
No
it.
pressure. Just 5 million people are watching right now.
Yeah, we're
It's
just
fine.
live.
I like to
Yeah.
think of Chad being
Cheers.
naked, and that's what calms me down. Okay, you just give me.
Don't,
How's that
don't,
working
don't
for
do
you?
that. Don't
Slow
do
it
that,
down.
please.
All right, but yes, as they mentioned, we just had a new episode of Death Battle air. Leon Kennedy versus Frank West.
That's right.
Which is awesome. Good job, Luis, on the animation, Sean
Thank
the
you.
writing. This was your second one.
My
that you've
second
written.
one.
Ben, also, great job on the voicing. I just
Yeah,
want
you
to
did
say,
good.
like,
You
good job.
too.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Chad Boomstick was really on point.
So is Wiz.
Yeah, thank you.
We're the real heroes.
Oh, no.
They only
But
work tirelessly on this episode.
yeah, like how many hours do you think you put into the animation?
I lost count. So none of. I mean, usually it takes like 3 to 4 weeks to like get like the animation going and like just like complete it. But then like there's post-production stuff as well, so that also takes time. So around 5 to 6 weeks.
Well, and you had a special. This episode is unique because you used a new animation software to make it, so that adds a couple.
Yeah, for sure,
in
sure.
there.
I used 2 new animation software because why not? Let's make it more
Right, yeah,
complicated, right? So yeah, I use Blender and this other program that lets me create like 3D models, but they're sprites, so they're using bossels and stuff. So it's really, really interesting, really cool to get to try out new things, which is something that allows us to do when working in-house.
Because of that new program that allows you to build 3D models out of sprites,
Yeah.
you were able to build an entire 3D like set piece for it. So
Yeah,
it was
basically.
almost like a 3D fight with sprites in a way.
Yeah, and the way that I did that is by just having like the side and front of like sprites, the kind of like 2D models in a sense, like just reference, and then I turned that into 3D, which then like each piece is its own model. So it was a complicated process, but we got it done.
So
Just fight on the internet. That's
It's
what
really
matters.
interesting too, because like we, when we hired Torian, like we were like blown away. Like we already knew Torian was like a good animator, right? Which is why we hired him. But then like having him here was just like blown away by this guy is like constantly driven to like make his animations better and better and better and find new ways to do things. And like it was just crazy like seeing somebody like he's just so dedicated to it. And then when we hired Luis, it was crazy because we got like the same experience for 2D. Like the both of them are like every fight there's some new thing that they're trying to like either push their animation or do this new program to give the animation some cool new effect or something. And
Yeah. It's what keeps it fresh and like exciting for an animator to always keep trying new things and like applying it to your core concept, like core idea of like animating in general, and it creates a different feel for each fight, which is awesome to do.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's been a thing since Death Battle began. Like, I've always strived to make sure that we're always trying new things with each episode, trying to build up new ways and methods to make a better product every single time, a better fight animation, a better analysis, better voice acting, everything. And like back then, it was just a couple people working on the episode. Now that we've got, a good-sized team on it and everybody's doing this, like the episode's quality just keeps increasing because of it, and I'm really proud of that.
It still blows my mind. Like we were talking about something. Oh, we were talking about Thundercats. And so I went back to just kind of peruse the He-Man versus Lion-O episode that we did. And like, there's so many things that I'm like, oh man, like, but then it's like, it's so crazy to see how far the show has come, like over the years. Like, it's my.
Well, once we got on like a reasonable production cycle with a reasonably sized team, I think everything kind of clicked and came into place much better, as opposed to everybody having to rush because we're given like 2 weeks to make something happen.
Haven't missed the deadline in 18 months, baby.
Yeah.
Loving it.
It works pretty well. But anyway, we will be answering some questions that you guys have given us based on the results of the Leon versus Frank episode. So if you haven't watched it, we are going to spoil it in a bit, spoil the victor. So if you haven't seen it, go see it, please.
Yeah.
And also, if you're watching this live on Friday, we do this show live on Friday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time every single Friday. You can participate in the community death battle poll that is going on. Previously, we used to do this poll on Twitter throughout the week or early on in the week, but now we're going to be doing it live. So if you look at the chat right now, there is a pinned post in the chat by Brian, our own favorite Brian over there.
Our own favorite Brian.
favorite Brian.
There's
All
many
you
at
other
this
Brians
company, but this
suck.
one is our favorite.
I mean, it's kind of true.
Yeah. There's a history there at least, so
Yeah,
it makes sense.
but our own favorite Brian has posted a link to a poll which you can use to vote for your pick on the community death battle, which is between Deadpool and The Mask.
Look how cool that asset is. It just works.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
And also by signing up for First, not only could you, get to vote, but also you might be able to help us find the other half of the microphone in our logo. Maybe one day.
Valid.
Yeah, if you're watching this archived on Rooster Teeth or YouTube after Friday,
This is so cool.
that's awesome
real
too.
time.
But if you're a first member, you can watch us live and get involved in the vote. And we're really excited to see how this turns out. This is something that I've been wanting to do ever since we started doing the community death battle, and now that we're able to do it, this is gonna be fun. We'll be talking about that later on in this show. But first, let's get into these questions.
If you're a fan of The Mask, he's going to need some help right now. You saw that Deadpool spike. Deadpool spike was harsh.
I mean,
So-
it's Deadpool. Everybody
Did have
loves
another hit movie
Deadpool,
come out too.
but
Just
do not underestimate The Mask. Highly recommend you look them up before you vote.
Yep.
All right, so I looked through a bunch of comments on the Rooster Teeth post and the YouTube post of the death battle and pulled some of the most common questions that I found. And Sean, I hope you can help me out with some of these.
do it.
So we're just gonna shoot through them real fast and continue with the show. So the first one is, you've said you make 3D fights for characters who come from 3D sources. Why was this fight a primarily 2D sprite fight?
And we say, traditionally, in most cases, we like to do that.
Yes. Well, and specifically, you look at Crash Spyro. That makes sense because they're the progeny of 3D platformers. So it's you got to kind of give them justice. I think Luis and I can talk about this, but
Yeah, for sure.
what it really comes down to is time and the amount of effort. Not that Luis's effort is lessened, but Frank makes a lot of cool objects.
Yeah.
And that means for the 3D fight, we would have to make all these different, combo weapons and things that's complicated. We don't exactly have an artist on staff who can just model things like that.
Yeah, yeah. And not only that, but it's also the fact that I had a lot of great ideas that I wanted to do for this fight. So I really wanted to do it. So we I just said hey, this fight, I have plenty of ideas. As you can see, it was over 3 minutes long. So when we weren't expecting it to be that long, but it was so many cool ideas we wanted to put together that it just kind of fit right in.
Yeah, and
in
I
the
think
fight.
it was last week or the week before I mentioned that, this was originally going to be a 3D fight.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, we
because-
mentioned on the commentary that
That's what
this
it
was originally planned to be a 3D fight, but then Torian got a hold of Crash for Spyro, which took a lot of time because it's those goofy cartoony fights.
The hardest thing for
Yeah.
him.
They are really hard to animate, especially when compared to a more grounded, realistic character like Leon. Because when you think about it, animated characters, very wildly animated characters, like Crash especially, there's so much stuff going on with their face, there's so much stuff going on with their body that you can't mocap that.
mean,
you
You
can't.
gotta keyframe that.
Also, Spyro's a dragon.
I was gonna say, you see Torian in the mocap, trying to be a dragon again, and you're just this ain't gonna work.
There's always, every single episode has a difference in difficulty, time, and what really needs to go into it. And putting Leon Frank in this position as a 2D fight is what really ultimately helps the entire season as a whole. And again, I think if we had done it in 3D, a lot of the stuff with Frank's weaponry we might not have been able to pull it off as
Right.
well as Luis did in the 2D animation.
Yeah.
So I think it worked out for the best.
Yeah, and I tried making up for not being 3D by adding a 3D background. So there you go.
Exactly.
Technically, it was 3D.
It was
It's got
2.5.
3D elements.
Pretty close.
2.5D, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that what
2.5D.
That's
Pretty close,
the
yeah.
thing, apparently. Yeah, right. Anyway, next question. And this is about some of the research that we had. We mentioned that Krauser a character who Leon fights. He jumps 15 times higher than the average man. But jumping, and so we say in the episode that makes him 15 times stronger than an average man who can usually jump around 2 feet.
Right.
Or sorry, he jumps 30 feet, I think.
Yes.
And then, anyway, he's 15 times stronger than an average man. But jumping strength and lifting strength are obviously different. So does this mean that he's actually 15 times stronger than an average man, or could he potentially be weaker than that?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it as like general strength, right? You know, so like it's not like Krauser just totally was leg day every day and didn't work out that. I mean, he's a jacked dude. He's got the upper body to prove that for as much workout as he's been putting into his legs, he's got it in his arms too.
He's not that guy from Lady in the Water.
He's not the guy from Lady in the Water. It's one of those things where you could just make an argument that, well, because his legs are capable of, you know, performing such an amazing feat, his arms are at least close to comparable.
Yeah, I mean, because we're comparing him to the average man just in general.
Right.
So we're taking a general estimate of what we're comparing him to anyway. So that's basically what we're dealing with. We're not saying that he could exactly lift 15 times stronger than the average man. We're just saying in general he is 15 times stronger, which I think the episode did get across, but it is worth clarifying.
We didn't take like the strongest man on the planet.
Oh, no.
Right, we took an average. That's where I think the difference is that's probably confusing some people.
Maybe. There have been times, several times in death battles where we have compared like specific kinds of powerlifting or
like Olympic athletes.
True, but that's like like 1-1. It's lifting.
That is a one-to-one comparison, and this wasn't exactly quite like that because he is literally just like flying through the air for a bit.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, how do you even compare that to anything other than just a general strength thing? Yeah. Like, nobody can do that shit. Like,
especially from he was just standing. Like, he didn't have a running star, or it just up.
Yeah, that's why we're comparing it to an average man who can do a 2-foot vertical jump. You're like, oh, the basketball players and stuff, they can jump higher than that. But like the average man, like you try just standing one place and jumping up. It's hard. It is hard. But anyway, Frank has defeated military opponents before, so why is Leon different?
I think it's pretty obvious with the various BOWs and monsters that Leon fights on the regular that, sure, he's got military training and, you know, like, Frank fought the general at the end of Dead Rising 1, and then he fought the super zombie who was a lieutenant colonel, I think, at the end of Dead Rising 4. And even that guy was in like a power suit. But it's not a BOW. It's not these tyrants that are picking up tanks or, you know, smashing through buildings, throwing, or I mean the shark, like that's a little different than a military dude. I mean, tactically speaking, that's obviously Frank's greatest strength is how creative he is and how fast he is on his feet. But you know, he's not fighting the Hulk. You know, so I don't really see how it's a fair comparison.
Leon would probably beat the shit out of all those military people.
No problem.
Sure.
I mean, he basically beat the shit out of Krauser, and Krauser seems to perform at the same level as most of these military dudes. So.
Probably more than that.
Probably more than that with the strength stuff.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Okay, how about another question? Leon only won because of luck. And this is about the animation specifically. If that zombie wasn't in the ice tornado, he would have died. And I'd like to just point out real quick that like we have said several times that the fight is, you know, for entertainment purposes. It's also meant to kind of like display how the characters, you know, would act toward each other, kind of like show off some of how our research applies to how certain elements of their fighting capability would interact with each other. And the zombie in the tornado, not only is it just like a fun little thing to have, like, the zombie's flying through a tornado, he jumps off one, but it also is meant to kind of display Leon's creativity and ability to like counter that sort of creativity that Frank has, which we do discuss in the analysis recap afterwards. So just a little something to keep in mind.
And I think that, you know, Leon demonstrates that he's capable of that in that fight against that tyrant Glenn or whatever at the end, because Glenn tries to like throw him and he like uses the momentum of the throw to do the flip and land, like drop kick him in the head.
That's actually what it's inspired by.
Right, exactly.
Like,
so
we were trying to come
precedent.
up with a finisher move, and I was watching that and thought, Leon just like gets thrown like 20 feet in the air or whatever here. You could totally do that with a tornado.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. And he fires the rocket launcher from above that. That'd be great.
I appreciate the game over reference we threw in there too.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Next question.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
that's fine.
you
Chad,
had
No, I was just
Something
gonna
to
say, some people like I see a lot of questions like that, right? And it's like it's almost like people operate under the mentality of like we have built some sort of simulator that like we just are like, all right, and go, and then we watch it happen, and you know, like
It's just
yeah.
like it's just text saying like Leon gets in a tornado, Leon grabs a zombie, jumps up.
Yeah.
yeah, and let's
the
see
rocket
what
launcher
happens.
Makes it
Oh,
happen.
okay. There's a script.
Oh yeah,
I'm
totally.
animating that.
One by luck. I mean, our simulator said it was so.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of gets into maybe a later question, but I feel like everybody has different ideas of how Death Battle's rules should play out. Like some people might think or prefer the idea that in these kinds of fights, you want to put these characters in just a plain, like empty field, final destination. It's just like one empty field. There's nothing. There's no environment. There's
Except for
nothing
Fox.
there. Except for Fox. Yeah, Fox is there obviously dashing around. But like essentially, some people might think that the fight animation is rigged unless it's as basic as possible. That's just not fun. And also, a lot of characters have elements that need to incorporate the environment, or at least using the environment can help establish how they act or how they use their powers, how they can interact with each other, and things like that. It's a lot more complicated than that, than just putting them in a plain white box.
Right, and at the end of the day, like that's where that entertainment portion does come in because you don't like that would be much more boring, like he said, and then also like for scenarios like you don't just want to see Superman just immediately heat vision someone through their eyes and melt their brain. Like that's what I always go back to, like because it's like realistically, like a lot of Superman's matchups, if he's just like straight up like you're gonna kill that person right now, like, okay, like
Oh, yeah.
gone,
Like
right.
And that'd be it.
Probably 7 or 8 times out of 10, Leon would just cap Frank in the face and it'd be over.
Oh no,
Like,
we established it would have been a knife throw.
knife
In
throw
that,
at the
in that
face.
moment
Yeah.
where Leon's like, hey, what are you doing? Frank's like, I'm stealing shit. He's like, knife. Done. Done.
Yeah, I
didn't
mean,
even see it coming.
that's always the case with these battles, and that's why we try to have a like looser interpretation of how we.
Again, we
establish these kinds of
want it
fights.
to be fun.
Yeah.
Like we want to have fun. We want you to have fun when you watch it.
We also did incorporate the knife throw.
We did. We
For-
did.
for
In
the epilogue,
The
yeah.
epilogue shot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's so gross. Shout out to Hyperjerk for
As always,
Absolutely.
that Frank sprites.
Okay, next question. Why didn't we have Frank use more Capcom Heroes outfits in the battle animation? Could he have won if he picked the Akuma or Dante costume instead of the Mega Man X one?
So again, it unfortunately comes back to the whole time. Just not enough time to do all the things that you'd want to do.
The show all the things. I would say they are all considered. Like,
Oh,
yeah, they are.
That's what I'm saying.
researched and considered. So
Yeah.
Everything is considered.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got to make choices. You got to realize that you only have 4 or 5 weeks in order to get this fight animated. So you got to make choices.
The original script had plenty of costumes as well.
Yeah, I think we had 3 in the original script actually.
Yeah.
But when you look at Dead Rising as a franchise, the Mega Man costume in all of its forms, whether it's the Blue Bomber, X, Zero, it's in every version of Dead Rising. So when you had to, even though the Capcom Heroes thing is an addition to Dead Rising 4 specifically, Mega Man's always been there. And so we wanted to incorporate the Capcom Heroes, but we also had to pay homage to the fact that Mega Man has been a big part of Dead Rising.
And not just because it's iconic to it, but I also was a little hesitant to include too many, especially if Frank were to win and it were to be because of these outfits. I feel like some people might have had an issue with that, given how the outfits might be considered like a slightly non-canon or outside of his reach source for him generally in the games, especially the arcade machine, since he can't like carry that around. But I still wanted to show off that stuff in the fight and still wanted to consider it in the analysis. So having the Mega Man one be the main one we show off, the one that is the most frequent throughout the games, made the most sense to me in that regard.
And at the end of the day, you got to remember that the costumes, they really only grant Frank a few abilities that are
Yeah.
tied to
It
his
doesn't
character.
make him that character.
Yeah.
He doesn't
he's not
just
that
become
character.
Mega Man or Dante.
Dante.
Right.
Yeah.
I know
the big
Dante
one.
was the argument.
That's
'cause
the big
Dante is
one.
pretty OP.
If
but-
he were to just suddenly turn into Dante, yeah, Leon would be pretty fucked, probably. But he doesn't.
that's
just
not what
turn into
happens.
Dante.
He so.
Okay. Oh God, this one. The next fight is Strange versus Fate, but I've been asking for Strange versus John Constantine for years. Why don't you give me what I want? You never listen to fans.
Oh.
I don't know about that.
By the way, announcement: Strange versus Fate is the next one.
Yeah,
yes,
look
if
at that.
you didn't know.
Nice.
Just to spite that guy.
I was gonna say, we do listen to fans. If you guys aren't already aware, there's a form. It's usually in the description of every fight where you can go and vote. We basically give you field, so it's like,
Not,
hey,
not vote, but you can like
you can submit your
submissions.
suggestions. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Sorry, not
right.
vote. Submit your suggestions, and we look at that.
When
and
we're
we
planning a
take that
season,
into account.
100% we look
Yep.
at that.
Well,
So-
this season in particular, like,
Oh, yeah.
going into this year, a big goal of mine was like to hit a lot of those really highly requested matchups that we hadn't done before, especially with like the new franchises. We just did Sora versus Pit recently. Kingdom Hearts and Kid Icarus coming to Death Battle for the first time. Highly requested fight, been highly requested for a long time. I figured it's about time we did this, so let's do it. The vast majority of this season's lineup, episode lineup, is of matches from the top 10% of requests. Like, almost all of them. I think there's maybe one or two. I think there's two that are based on highly requested characters, but we thought that there might be a different character who would be a better matchup.
Right.
But like outside of that, it's all completely based off that form.
Yeah, like it's a great tool for us to understand what you guys want to see. So it would not be smart of us to just completely throw that out the window constantly and ignore that. Like,
Yeah, of
course.
you guys are the reason that we have a job and that we get to continue to do this, and we want to make sure that we're making content that you guys want to see.
I don't want to give the wrong impression. We would love to be able to do every single death battle that you guys want us to do.
Oh, yeah.
We would absolutely love to do that. That would
Yeah.
be fantastic. If Rooster Teeth could somehow reach into their magical pockets and give us $700 billion.
I was about to say, like, I don't think if every single person worked in this entire company just solely focused on making death battles, we'd never do it. Like, there's
You
no
know
way.
what? Yeah, the list is endless.
There's
If we
always
could-
going to be one
If we could
matchup.
recruit a country made
Wakanda. That's all we need. Wakanda could do it. They'll build the actual simulator. And then-
So back to Strange Fate though. Like, I don't really feel like we really need to explain it. They're both doctors. They're both wizards. They're from the respective Marvel and DC universe.
Which we haven't done a Marvel versus DC matchup in this season, except for the very first episode.
Right.
So it's been like 5 or 6 episodes since we've
Yeah.
done
So I mean, that's beautiful. That's the perfect death battle matchup. When we're checking boxes, they got all the things, you know.
This is
Yeah.
one of the big ones. There are plenty of death battle requests that I consider like big ones that everybody wants to see. Goku vs Superman and Mario vs Sonic were obviously some of those, and Strange vs Fate has been a highly requested one since the beginning, and since the Strange movie came out in Avengers, it's just increased in popularity.
Yep.
Just wait
Yeah.
for that Dr. Fate movie.
I know, right? I would love for that to happen.
do it.
I love Dr. Fate as a
I
character.
want the gritty DC universe Dr. Fate too.
It could totally work.
It could. I mean,
Helmet's
I
like
think
possessing him.
yeah,
It's kind of like a Venom thing, but with magic.
Yeah, there you go.
He's always surprised.
just blasting people.
All right. I think this is the last question. Frank versus Leon was too one-sided, so why even bother?
Yeah. All right, I got it.
Okay.
Like, I've answered this question a couple times, and that's that because it's requested and you guys want to see it, and also like we have no idea. Like, there's been so many times when we are so sure just at the initial proposing of a matchup that this character will just stomp this other character, and then we look into facts and we're like, oh, holy shit. Not only is this going to be like a really close matchup, this character might actually win, right? Like, this happens to us all the time, and so like. We don't ever judge a matchup just at its cover, I guess, Like, it's always
right.
worth taking the time to do all the research to understand. And again, a lot of it's based on because that's what's requested and what people want this answer. So,
I mean, there are some matchups that we would judge that way just because it's very clearly obvious. Like, I don't think we'll ever do Goku versus Ryu.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. That one.
Right.
They can both
yeah,
shoot fireballs from their hands, but one is clearly more powerful than the other.
Yeah.
But like in terms of Leon versus Frank, this sort of matchup works for us so well because this is the kind of stuff we love to analyze. Frank is such a like bizarre character when put next to somebody like Leon. It's kind of like you look at Raven versus Twilight or Shovel Knight versus Scrooge McDuck. Those kinds of episodes where we take a character that is a little bit different from the norm or has different ideas of how to fight, and we try to analyze that and figure out how they could win
So
against
much
another
fun.
opponent. It's fun, and that underdog character is not always going to be the victor. It's not always going to happen that way. So sometimes you'll get an episode that is unpredictable and crazy, and sometimes you'll get one that the winner that you thought would win is going to win. And
Thor versus Raiden.
yeah, well, that's the extreme.
And also,
I hope we never get that far again.
like at the end of the day, like the reason why people request these matchups is because they want a question answered. And so if the answer to the question is, yeah, you got stomped, that's the answer to the question. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like we did the analysis, we have the research to prove it, boom.
Yeah.
You know?
We're just trying to answer unanswered questions about matchups. You know?
Exactly.
So even if it is obvious, we still want to see, just make sure that the result is actually going to be like the case.
Yeah,
know
because
what
you
I
never know.
Yeah.
There's so many times I can't even like. We're always surprised in every single death battle that we do. There is something that we learn. You know, like some wacky, crazy thing. Like, oh my god, I never knew. Like, I played the original Spyro games, right? And so like I did the research for Spyro, and I got to Legends, and I was like, holy shit! Like I was like blown away. I was not expecting Spyro to be on the level that he was at.
Yeah.
And that's really cool, and it's fun to do. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, that pretty much wraps up the questions for Leon Frank. Again, it's up on Rooster Teeth and YouTube. If you haven't seen it, sorry, we just spoiled it for you. But definitely share it with your friends and your family if they're into that sort of thing. We love it when you guys share it around and help pass the epic death battle to other people maybe who haven't seen it before. I feel like because this episode deals with like zombie killers and like soldiers and more grounded characters, that this would be a good episode to show to some people who maybe aren't as into anime or superheroes and the kinds of characters that Death Battle normally shows off. So if you've got a friend like that, we'd really appreciate you showing this one to them.
I was rooting for the zombies the whole time.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
Pretty sure the undead horde had it, but
I mean, we don't know what happens to Leon after all that.
it's true.
Like, it kind of ends with a big explosion, and he's standing there, and there's a million zombies.
It's just a wave.
If you're really pissed that he won, after a while he gets killed by a gigantic amount of zombies. There you go. You
Yeah.
happy?
Yeah.
They're all dead. And
mean-
so is humanity.
Although, to be fair, it's Leon we're talking about here.
Yeah, he
he
does
probably
sound
just like
like
gun kata John Wick them all.
all the
He's like
zombies.
the last man on earth.
All right. Anyway, it's now time to find out what's going on.
It's never not funny to me.
I mean, this is pretty appropriate, though.
It is appropriate.
We're gonna
That's
talk
true.
about not He-Man per se,
Related universe.
but
Close enough.
She-Ra.
Yeah.
This I missed it, or this was last week. We talked about Thundercats Roar,
Yep.
which was this new reboot that's coming out for Thundercats. If you haven't seen it, where have you been? It was the talk of the internet for a long.
I feel like it's
whole
a,
day.
it's a reimagining though, right? Because we already did the reboot thing and nobody cared.
Sure.
So
That's true.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
okay.
Yeah. But like at the same day, and it didn't get nearly as much press, which is unfortunate. We got a reveal of what the new She-Ra show is going to look like. At least a little bit. We got like a poster review.
And I think the reason is because like when that was announced, that went around. It was trending on Twitter, and like everybody was talking about like, oh, this person's going to be working on it. But yeah, you're right. Like I think the Thundercats, it's because it was so fresh and shiny. Nobody knew it was coming. People knew She-Ra was coming. So like a first.
Yeah, but also the Thundercats caused
Controversy. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
whereas the
It's like,
She-Ra one
hate,
didn't.
hate.
Yeah.
Because there is a distinct difference in how these two shows are being presented.
That's true.
That's what the She-Ra poster very clearly defines. There it is behind us.
Yep.
It looks straight up like just an updated version of old school.
She looks like Thor. In that, like that's.
Yeah, I mean,
think
She-Ra
it
and
was
Lady
awesome.
Thor aren't
looks
so
great.
different
Yeah.
in terms of like maybe
my dreams.
silhouette and just general appearance.
I wonder if they're gonna change her name.
Did you notice that it says
From Aurora? No.
princesses?
It's not Aurora. It's Adora.
Adora, yeah. Did you?
Oh, yeah,
you,
it is.
Did you hear? Did you notice that princesses of power?
Yes.
Oh, look at that.
So I'm curious if she's got some cousins.
Oh, they're gonna My Little Pony this shit. Yeah, there's gonna be multiple.
This actually would
princesses
be
of
a
power.
really good
You'll also
formula.
notice that.
Yeah.
You want to know what their names are?
Yes.
Scorpia, Natosa.
Hang on. Scorpia's a bad girl. She's a bad lady.
Natosa?
Natosa might be the witch lady.
Glimmer, Frosta.
Glimmer's like a sorceress from the original She-Ra.
Apparently
Huge
he
He-Man
knows a
fan,
lot
by
of-
the way.
Really, Chad.
Mermista, Catra.
Catra's a bad girl. God, please let her voice sound nothing like the original. She's like, I'm Catra. Like she's, oh my God, it's obnoxious. It's fucking terrible.
Well, it's a different actress.
I know. I just don't want her to take that as
They have the snarf like overlay for her, the voice modulation of snarf.
I believe the whole cast is different, but the original creator of She-Ra is still behind the show.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Lawrence
Interesting.
Detilio?
Okay.
Something like that. I've never heard of this guy before until right now, but apparently he's the creator of She-Ra, and I probably should have heard of him. So, yeah.
That's really cool. I didn't know. So there's probably gonna be a lot of elements to the original. That's awesome. So it's funny because recently, it was Thundercats Roar actually. Last week we were talking about that, and I was like, I gotta like start showing my daughter some more of like the stuff that I grew up on, and right. And so I was like, let me see. So first I was like, because April and I were talking about this, and she was like, I wonder if she'd like Sailor Moon. I was like, let's try that. Didn't really stick right away. I think she's gonna need to be a little bit older before Sailor Moon gets her. But then I was like, She-Ra's on Netflix. It's like, this is She-Ra. And in the first episode, she was kind of like, eh. And then she got into it, right? And that's because I totally forgot. The first episode of She-Ra is a He-Man episode.
Yes.
Like-
It's like a Christmas special or something like that, wasn't it?
No, they did do a Christmas special, but no, like it's so the She-Ra episode 1
Oh, gotcha.
is like the sorceress remembering having a dream of where like Hordak straight up just like stole a baby. There's this hilarious frame where it's Hordak and he's just like and the baby's just like in his arms like and like Kira straight up was just like, why is he stealing that baby? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, why isn't the baby mad? Like, and I was like, well, the baby doesn't know. Like, someone could come take your brother and he'd probably still be stoked about it. But like, so anyway, and so it starts in, and it's straight up a He-Man episode. The sorceress goes, like she has this, vision, and then it's so funny because he took her to another dimension or whatever. And so after the sorceress has this vision, a door in Castle Grayskull opens, and she's like, oh, holy shit. And so she goes and gets He-Man. She's like, oh, I had this vision. This door's never opened before. And he's like, he's Prince Adam this time. So I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, I'd go, but, if I leave the castle, I don't have powers because I turn into a bird. And he's like, okay. And then Cringer's like, I don't want to. And he's like, get in there, bitch. And so then they hop into the other dimension, and they end up meeting up with the Freedom Fighters, which is like Bo.
So this follows He-Man the entire time.
It's literally the first episode is like all He-Man, and there's a couple, and then the bad guys, like they find out about, there's a rebellion against Hordak and his people because he raised Adora and yet still called her Adora. Your name is Hordak. And you were like the Lord of all evil. You steal babies.
I mean-
and you're like, oh, I'll name her Adora.
He didn't name himself Hordak. Maybe his parents just did it, and he grew up like resenting that the whole time. So he's like,
It's like one of those things. He became what he was named, and he didn't want to put that on her.
But he wanted her evil. She's like the captain of his forces. And then they have some conflict and stuff, and it's great. There's still the whole time he's Prince Adam. I want you to know, for most of
He's
this
not
episode.
He-Man.
And so he eventually gets in the Freedom Fighters, and then they're all like, you mentioned you had a friend that would come and help. He's like, oh, he'll be around. And I'm like, how do people not fucking know that Prince Adam is He-Man? Because then He-Man shows up and they treat him like he's totally different.
I wonder if they're gonna keep that with
That be the
Dora
first
and
episode.
She-Ra as well.
Oh, if she
The
starts
secret
out evil?
identity. No, the secret identity. Well, first off, if she starts out evil, but also the secret identity thing, because she had the secret identity thing too, right?
She did, yeah.
Yeah.
She had an alter ego where she wasn't always She-Ra, Princess of Power.
She does. She's Princess Adora.
Right.
I just don't remember if
It's like a carbon copy He-Man.
Yeah,
it's the same
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that's
Only
true.
her little band of heroes knows that she's secretly both of them, but everybody else thinks that they're
What's
separate.
the name of the guy with the heart on the chest?
Bo.
Bo.
We talked about.
Bo. I love Bo.
Bo's an interesting character.
Yes, he is.
You know what I really hope? I hope they keep the name of her like Pegasus unicorn thing. I really hope that they
Oh, they
keep
have
its.
to.
I think they keep it. I hope they keep its voice actor. Like, because it was scary as shit. Like, everything else is like adorable and like yada yada, and then like he's like, "Hey, She-Ra," like it's super deep and like,
Like a
it just
really
doesn't fit the
manly
like
horse with wings.
oh yeah, like they gave it a really manly voice for being like a rainbow flying unicorn.
You're talking about Swiftwind, right?
Swiftwind, yeah, that's it. And then
It's
what was
not on IMDb yet, as far as I know. That voice actor hasn't been announced.
Oh my god, what if this is a huge crossover and she rides like a Pegasus pony from My Little Pony?
Oh my god. I mean, I'm
Just Twilight just shows up. Like,
what I'm wondering is based on like the way the poster, just based on the general look and the fact that it's on Netflix. I'm wondering if they're going to be going for kind of the same vibe as the Voltron show, because I feel like that might be a good way to go about it. Princesses of Power. It's gonna be an ensemble cast with She-Ra as the main character, obviously. Could be kind of similar to the Voltron crew. So that's like a mostly male-dominated like cast of characters, and this could be a similar thing with a mostly female-dominated cast of characters. I'm kind of expecting something like that, but again, we don't really know much about the show anyway. So other than the fact that it's going to be on Netflix this year, and it looks like that apparently.
I'm down, man. Like, I think it'd be really cool, and that's why another reason why I wanted Kira to watch She-Ra now, so she can watch the original. Because like she already started. She mentioned this when we were watching some other show. I can't remember what it was. But she was talking about, it was when we first brought up Sailor Moon, and she was just like, why does it look so weird? She's like, it looks old. And I'm like, you will not have that attitude. Like, I was like, it doesn't matter how it looks. I was like, it's, like, I don't
I
want
mean,
so
I don't want her to have that thing.
right.
It's true. And I'm like, yeah, it's because it was made a long time ago, but you can, I did it like, like you can still enjoy the story.
Storytelling,
and,
storytelling.
Right. Like, I don't want her to be that kid. Like, I remember when I'm like, like trying to show somebody, oh yeah, I had like, even like my nephew, like took him over to like, and I have like all my old consoles, and it was like, oh man, the graphics suck. And I'm like, don't you dare. Like, don't let graphics hold you back from a really great experience, And like, so that's, I really want to make sure she doesn't do that. So now she's going to get this whole She-Ra thing, and then the new one's going to come out, and it's going to blow her away, and she's never going to watch the other one again, but
or she'll watch it and be like, why did they ruin everything?
Yeah, I know.
Those nostalgia glasses, man. They pollute everything.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So just to wrap up the discussion on this, I did notice, I didn't realize it, but I did notice that the cast for Thundercats Roar includes the actor for Tigra is actually the same actor who played Balrog in Our Death Battle.
What?
Nice.
Really?
The guy who plays Tusk in Killer Instinct.
Yeah, dude, he's
Alex.
super nice.
Yeah.
I met him out at, I think, E3. He played. Yeah, he's a really cool dude.
He's Tigra.
Excellent.
So
Nice.
go watch it
One of
just
my-
for him.
One of my least favorite Thundercats, though, honestly.
Well,
Tigra, he's kind of lame.
he didn't really get much to do in the original series. They tried to give him like a rivalry thing with Lion-O in the reboot, but he got like,
He got squashed pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
Lino.
Yeah, his
Sort of Omens, too. Like,
he had just like the bola whip, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Well, because I think he was supposed to be the leader-ish, sort of, but then Lion-O is the prince, so
he's like the backup in case Lino has a cold or bird flu.
yeah, he has to call in sick for work.
Right.
Tiger takes over. Yeah. Anyway, I want to see what's going on with the community now. So we've got some art to show off. This one's from Quentin Johnson. Let's go ahead and bring that
I'm
up.
so bummed Torian's not here on this
nice.
episode.
Oh my
because look at
gosh.
that. We got a Catechist cosplay.
No, it's beyond cosplay. That's a straight up
Whoa.
stand. That's a Persona stand.
That is
Catechist is his
crazy.
stand.
Oh yeah, well so the
Well, the
fan art on
art,
the left
yeah.
is from someone else's fan art.
Oh, I see.
Right? So they already did that as a stand. But Combat Toad 19 here did like he cosplayed
Legit cosplay.
as Catechist.
That's
level
amazing.
six.
I know.
That is awesome.
I found this. He did like kind of broke the rules a little bit because he didn't even use the hashtag Death Battle Cast. This wasn't on Twitter. This was like I was on Instagram and I got tagged in it, and then I was just like, oh shit, and like I had to grab it and show it off. So,
That's
like,
awesome.
Yep.
Oh my God. Has Torian seen this?
Yes, that's my first thought. I was about to send it to him, but then I saw there was already a reply on his Instagram. It was like, yo, this is sick, or whatever. So, like, but that's crazy.
Amazing.
Like, we now have people cosplaying
as Catecus.
We gotta bring Catechus back.
Yeah.
He's only been on one show, and
maybe
this has come out of this, as well as like dozens of art from incredibly talented people. Like, this is crazy.
I'm wondering. I wonder if I can get Torian to dress up as Catechus for one day at RTX.
It has to happen now.
Maybe we should have a panel. Catechus presents.
There you are.
He just talks about like lorry stuff.
Yeah.
Or we do like a very, very in-depth, serious, detailed animation panel, but he's just dressed that way the whole time.
Catechus the whole time.
Or you could just have a panel where he's dressed up as Catechus, and you just tell anybody who wants to join to be like, hey, bring your cats. We'll just have a panel full of
And
cats.
he will determine if they are gay or not. Yeah.
That's what he does. It's-
He's the defender of
He defends gay cats. He doesn't.
that's how. But no,
Identify
he needs to be able to identify them because he's not going to take a heterosexual cat that's not in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You know,
He's like
needs
the-
to
He just
know.
doesn't relate.
No,
So we're making like
playing about
Catechus
a cat.
heterophobic?
I mean,
With cats specifically?
I don't think
He
it's a
wasn't trained on
phobia.
that.
It's just a.
He's just
it's-
focused on
Yeah, he's just
defending-
a focused, attorney at claw. Like he knows.
He knows
who
his
needs
market.
his help.
He knows market.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
We're creating lore on the fly, guys. Like, this is great.
All right, yeah, well, if you want to see the Catechus panel at RTX, please let us know using hashtag DeathBattleCast on Twitter. I have no idea what we would do with it, but I think that'd be hilarious. All
We
right,
just bring all of our cats in. Everybody has
Yeah.
a cat, and we just let them free in the audience and see what happens.
Yeah.
Gosh.
but now it's time for the community death battle. Deadpool versus The Mask. This is a weird one.
I have no idea. Like, I am not able to answer this question. They're both absolutely insane and nearly unkillable.
I was gonna say is like, I mean, technically, the mask is Loki, right? Like,
It's created by Loki.
it's created by Loki, so it doesn't have the power of Loki.
Kind of does.
Well, I mean, it's got the power of
Because here's the thing.
mischief and whatever.
I was gonna say that's a god, so like that's kind of harder to kill. Although he can be killed. We did learn that. Spoiler.
Yeah, I think what it is, I think in the movie it is Loki, and I think in the comics it was created by
Okay, because see, that's why I'm
Yeah.
only familiar with the movie and only the first. Jamie Kennedy can. That didn't happen. Son of the Mask is not a thing that happened.
This is regarded as like one of the worst movies of all time.
It is
Yes.
Yeah.
pretty terrible.
Really?
That's an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool, he can pretty much put his body back together from a pool of blood, though.
So can The Mask.
Yep.
But okay, maybe some of the answers from the community might help you guys out. We've got one for Deadpool from Michael Young. We'll bring that up. And he says, Deadpool has this by a narrow margin. Both of them are insane with Deadpool's healing factor and powers and the big face killers. The Mask's actual name? I think it's Big Head. Toon Force. But Deadpool has one distinct advantage. His universe has a carbonadium
Sword.
This is cut off.
It is. It's because then it came in another tweet. You have the full thing on the rundown.
Okay.
I put it there
Carbonadium
for you.
sword that could win him the fight. Looks like the Mask can't save face in this battle.
Love when they do the puns.
There we go. All right. But then we also have a comment for the Mask from Anthony Jackson. And he writes, the Mask is literally an immortal Toon-like demigod who the rules of physics don't apply to. He can create anything he needs for a gag, including unlimited guns and in-comic nukes. In-comic nukes? Nukes?
Nukes. It's like, I guess in the comics.
In the
he's pulled
comics, he
out
has
a
nukes.
nuke.
Yeah.
Okay. He obtains any power item he needs for a gag. This isn't even close. Mask is overkill.
I do feel like the Mask could easily be distracted by his own, like get wrapped up in the sense of humor, where Deadpool like maybe has a little more control over how silly things are getting. Like he might egg the Mask on to the point where it gives him a slight advantage.
Well,
I don't know. The Mask is always going to be. I don't think you're going to really piss off the Mask. Like,
the Mask doesn't have the same kind of fourth wall breaking powers that Deadpool has.
That's true.
going
I
with
was
that.
thinking more like the Mask really seems to like get into his own jokes. That's why he only pulls out things that he needs if it has like a sense Like it's gonna be like he's gonna hurt somebody or do a thing, but there's always like a gag tied to
Well,
how
that's
he
because
does
he's a
it.
trickster. But I mean, like in Death Battle, his goal would be to kill the other person.
So like, as weird as this is to say about the Mask, or either of these characters, you think that he is technically more predictable than Deadpool?
Yeah, in the sense that like Deadpool would recognize that everything the Mask does is a gag, and that's not always the case for Deadpool. And maybe he would try to exploit that as a weakness.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think Deadpool would just like go along with it, to be honest,
Yeah.
than anything else.
I just don't know. So remind me real quick on the carbonadium sword. Doesn't that stop healing factors?
Yes.
But isn't that mutation healing factors? How does it?
That's a universe thing, right?
Well,
I don't know
that's
how
what
that
I-
would apply to another universe, another character from another story, or another
Right.
fictional universe.
That'd be something we really need to look into the exact terminology of how carbonadium works, because if it's specifically like it, counteracts the mutant gene
That creates
that
the
creates
healing
regeneration
factor.
or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
That
I just
does
don't
that
remember.
work
It's
on
been
a
a long time
demigod.
since we did.
Yeah,
Death-
that was
Deathstroke.
from several years. That was one of Torian's first Death Battles to animate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at its wiki page at least right now.
Because if it 100% can negate healing factor, like just regardless, if you're a god or whatever, and it's not a mutation, then like
so
that's gonna be a huge advantage.
okay, it's specifically the radiation from the carbonadium sword. Remember this, that can stop cells from coming back together. So it basically kills healing cells.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know if the mask really works that way.
I know. Like it's,
He's a living cartoon. Like, isn't that like kind of what the whole vibe he's putting on? Like, does he have cells when he's the
mean,
mask?
I assume so because he's
Yeah.
a physical being, but this is a weird
it
conversation.
really is.
I'm just saying.
I have no idea what to do because like, I think he is more powerful than Deadpool. Like, definitely.
Yes, at a very basic, like, I can transmute things and like manifest things. Deadpool
Yeah.
can't do any of that. He's
I
got
know.
to carry guns with him, and when he forgets his duffel bag of guns, he's like, "Fuck, Dopender!" Like,
I mean,
gotta go
he
back
does
to the
have
house.
that.
He's got like a teleportation thing.
No, like the little bag of tricks that he can just.
That's
pull
true. He
whenever
does
out.
have that.
The wacko bag, I call
Yeah,
it.
but when it comes to like
I always think
Yeah.
Animaniacs.
Yeah.
when it comes to Toon Force stuff, like it can just get completely insane. You know
That's
what
the
I mean?
thing, though, right? Yeah.
I guess
Or it's
Deadpool
like-
needs that bag, whereas Mask can just do it.
Yeah.
And it
Like, he
seems
can just
to be
pull
like
a gun out of thin air if he really wants to.
right. It also
Yeah.
seems like the mask is only limited by his own imagination, which is insane and crazy. And if he learns of something new, he could probably just pull that out of his ass. I mean, like,
Yeah.
and probably literally would. Like, you know, it's like, I've got a carbonadium sword.
gonna
It's
say,
like,
yeah.
oh, me too.
Real
Like,
quick,
you know.
before we continue, I forgot to mention at the beginning of this. If you're just now joining us or you joined us recently, we do have a link at the top of the chat. If you're watching us live, you can go vote for who you think should win this. Definitely go do that right now because I think we're going to wrap this
about
up
to
pretty
vote.
soon.
Yeah.
So let us know who you think should win between Deadpool and Mask in that poll, and we'll bring it up in just a bit.
I mean, the mask could easily just grab something like a anvil, hold it. It doesn't weigh anything. Then just give it, and then it wastes the time. You know what I mean? Like he can do
Yeah.
stuff like that because it's Toon Force. It's just
Like he could make
crazy.
himself like the size of a building theoretically.
Yeah.
Just eat Deadpool.
I
There's
just
this
don't.
great little panel of, I don't remember the guy's name, but like, there's a big hulking guy who's trying to like sneak up on the Mask and get him from behind. And it's just a panel of the Mask like minding his own business, looking off to the side. The dude's behind him, lunging at him. Very next panel, Mask, just his head, has twisted all the way around. It's enormous, and it just bites across, like, over the dude and eats him. It's just over in a single second.
Yeah, like- That's the thing. Where
I don't think Deadpool can keep up with stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the mask. Like, he's just too weirdly broken. Cartoon physics, man.
I think so too. I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna have to vote for Mask. As much as I want to vote for Deadpool because he's Deadpool,
you know what?
I gotta vote for Mask.
Play devil's advocate. I'm gonna say that Deadpool will outsmart the Mask. He will exploit the Mask's his love of being insane to the point that the Mask defeats himself.
How?
Is Deadpool smart enough to do that?
I mean, maybe. Smart is such a subjective thing.
Oh.
Intelligence can vary. There's street smarts and book smarts. Obviously, Deadpool is not very book smart. He doesn't have a degree from MIT, but he's
He actually
pretty clever.
Like,
I mean, he might. I mean, who knows what he has? But I'm just saying that, like, I'm gonna go Deadpool.
think you're underestimating Toon Force, my friend. So I'm gonna
Possible.
go Mask.
Mask.
You're voting
Mask.
Mask?
Yeah.
Man, all right. So we got 3 for Mask
Yep.
and 1 for Deadpool.
I know they're gonna say Deadpool. I just know they are.
Well, let's go ahead and bring up the poll results. See what you guys have to say.
All right, it was closer than I
Closer
thought.
than I expected.
I'm wondering if our conversations like really helped sway that, because when you were like, and you can vote, everyone just like saw Deadpool like, ah, like just hit it like immediately.
I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty close vote. Like, this would be such an interesting one to do an actual death battle.
I kind of want to, man. Like,
It'd be so weird.
Lot
I
of
don't even know
research.
how we would like start with that one. Like,
Can we
should
ignore
we
the?
start by looking at the times?
Strange versus Fate is coming up, and when that one airs, like you'll understand how fucking bonkers these characters are and how difficult it was to research them. Like that one is tough to analyze and really decide, like really figure out the victor because they're just like cosmic beings. But these guys, like, what can even stop them? I know. Like, how do we? Oh, that would.
And
be
the Mask is
tough.
even asking for people to stop him.
That would be such a
That's true.
But then again, we live for challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
We can do it. All right.
Can we ignore the Son of the Mask movie if we do it? please?
Absolutely.
Great.
Not canon. Awesome.
We'd have to look into that. We probably would. 'Cause
Don't ruin it,
Dude,
Chad. Just
Mask-
say yes for now.
I don't want to.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us for this episode of Death Battle Cast. We will be airing the previews for Strange versus Fate in the upcoming weeks, and then the episode will air in 3 weeks, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And we will, as always, do a questions and answered for that episode too. We've been doing that for every single Death Battle episode. So when that episode airs, feel free to leave questions in the comments, kind of talk about the episode, and we'll address your, concerns and stuff right here. It'll be great. And I hope you can join us live next time for the chat and the poll if you're watching this archived. And if you are a first member, we have a first exclusive post show that airs over the weekend called Sudden Death. You can find that on roosterteeth.com. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
See you guys soon.